Well, joining me now to discuss Zelensky's planned visit to Trump on Monday is Hamilton Odunze. He is an international affairs analyst in Boston, Massachusetts. Good to have you, and sorry for the short notice and the back and forth. Now, what is your assessment of Zelensky's absence from the meeting? The EU had insisted, over days that the meeting could not be held without Kyiv. It went on without Kyiv. So Zelensky spoke up about the decision to hold the Putin, meeting and, a table for two sort of, or a trilateral, sit down, but that did not go his way.
So my assessment of the meeting is it was just a publicity stunt for both presidents, both President Trump and Putin. It was just a publicity stunt for both of them. And going into the meeting, many of us knew that it was going to be a meeting without any reasonable outcome. And the reason is because of exactly what the EU said. If you look back, you question how do you have a peace meeting without a major component of the war and of the peace present at the table? Right. So it tells you what Putin is thinking. It gives us an idea of what he's thinking. I think he wants to grind out the war, knowing that Americans do not have a lot of patience when it comes to grinding out wars, whether it is in Afghanistan or somewhere else. He's waiting for the time when the American people will say, we're done with this. We're not part of this anymore. And then that's when he's going to unleash hell on Ukraine. And then at that point, we don't know where the world is going to go. We don't know where we're going to go.
Okay, now, I know that Zelensky is at the center of all of this. Let's contrast the two meetings so far this year. The first was with Zelensky and this one with Putin. How different were the two meetings? Some differences being, a lot of people have said for Putin is a rolled red carpet, and for Zelensky it was more like an embarrassing moment. But let me have you, draw out the stakes here. How could you contrast the two meetings that has happened so far?
And they are right. It was completely, the settings are completely different, right? This one was like, because they thought that Zelensky was coming to ask for more military aid from the United States. And true to the fact, he did ask. Right, but they were all ready to humiliate him, and they set it up that way, to humiliate him, to make him not ask for military. And at the point, even the vice president of the United States asked Zelensky to his face if he has ever said thank you to the American people. And if you come to yesterday's meeting with Putin, it was a red carpet. And the premise also was different because they had sold it to the world that it was a peace meeting. And the other one they sold to the world as coming to ask for military aid. So you can see from there how they are different, and the approach is different, and the setting was different.
So do you think, at some point, right, watching what had happened last night, there was a point where while Putin was approaching Trump, he was clapping. And so a lot of people were like, what's the applaud for? But let me bring you to the EU, role in all of this. I've asked this question time and time again. I begin to sound like a broken record. How important, because you mentioned EU, how important is the European Union in all of this? Because they seem less important.
Well, they are very important in the conversation, right? Because they are the major backers, but they back Ukraine and send them because they understand what is at stake. What is at stake is Putin trying to rebuild the old Soviet Union. And once he's done with that, and that's not just what is at stake, actually, that is at stake, but more is also at stake. For example, I know Russia is waiting on the line to see what comes out of this war. And if Ukraine does not, with the help of EU and the United States, resist this Russia takeover, it's only a matter of time before China goes for Taiwan.
And that still reminds us of the fact that it seems like the EU cannot move forward with this without, the US. But let me come back to you, Odunze. Do you think Putin has outplayed Trump, and does this make the US look, say, less powerful in diplomatic negotiations?
Always outplayed Trump, whether it is Trump believing Putin over his own agency, which is the FBI. I remember when he said, why would Putin do that when his FBI told him that this is what is going on? So Putin always outplays Trump. For instance, in this case, he knew he accepted the meeting, not coming to a peace meeting. It was an opportunity for him to tell the American people exactly why he invaded Ukraine. and to tell Trump to his face exactly why he invaded Ukraine. That's the only reason why he came to the meeting. And in that instance, you can say, yes, he outplayed Trump.
Now, we look forward to tomorrow's meeting. What do you think Zelensky can bring to the table here? Let's believe, let's hope that Trump would meet Zelensky just as he did Putin. But what can, Zelensky do to ensure that this goes his way?
Well, the only thing he can do at this point is to keep on the message that to the extent that Ukraine resists Russia is for America's security interests. Like I said earlier, America cannot, after fighting the Cold War and the disintegration of the Soviet Union, they just sit back now and watch Putin rebuild the Soviet Union, which is exactly what he's trying to do. So Zelensky should stay on the case. He should stay on the fact that fighting Putin and resisting him is also to America's interest, is also to America's security interest. That's the only way he can continue to push on that message. And probably he'll get through to Trump, but it's hard to get through to Trump at this point.
Fingers crossed. Let's see how that tomorrow's meeting will pan out in Washington, D.C. Thank you so much. Hamilton Odunze, he's an international affairs analyst, joined us from Boston, Massachusetts. I wish we had more time.